All right. All right. I guess we're live now. I do believe that we are on Facebook. So good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. That's my classic introduction. Wherever you are, Way-T Lightheart, live from the Tower of Power here, broadcasting from Vancouver, Canada. Sun's coming out, but it's been a rainy day. Summer is pretty much over here in the Pacific Northwest. It was a great summer, but it's gone. And that means back to school, back to work, back to getting focused as we get ready for this last quarter of the year. We've only got a few weeks left. We go into Q4, and that means here's where the rubber hits the road. We probably had some goals starting in January of this year. Maybe you hit them, maybe you didn't. If you hit them, high five, let's exceed them. If you haven't hit them, maybe you're starting to question yourself. Maybe you're starting to say, hey, maybe something's not working. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe it was my strategy. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I don't have the skills. Maybe the economy's not right. Maybe I'm in the wrong industry. All of these limiting beliefs that everybody has to face and that everybody has to transcend if they want to hit the next level in their business, in their life, in their relationships, in their health, whatever it is. So I wanted to share with you why this is so important. And I'm going to share with you a couple of things that, that I used and some personal stories. And then I'm going to take you through a process. I'm going to take you through a process that I was just actually in. I want to give a kudos. I just came back from Business Mastery a few weeks ago from Tony Robbins, and I'm going to borrow something that I learned from Tony, who learned it from Byron Katie, and I'm here to help you with it. But I'm going to share with you a personal story. So years ago, way back when I was competing in competitions, I really didn't have much for genetics, and I wasn't that good at the sport, and but I loved it. And I kept training and learning and working out and doing all these things. And I remember I had lost my last contest. It was 1996. So I had lost 3 years earlier in 1993 when I did a show. I came third. I did another show in 1996. I lost. And then I did another show in 96 and I lost again. So it taken me 10 years to get to that point, never won. And I was frustrated. And I was thinking, I had some of these limiting beliefs, or I knew there was something in my unconscious program. So I bought a bodybuilding self-hypnosis CD developed by a guy by the name of Dr. Lee Poulos. And I listened to that CD every night. It was a cassette, actually. I listened to it every night, and I listened to it every day. There was a subliminal part, and there was another part that was really, really powerful. I don't know, my live streaming it just went wrong. So we'll keep going. So bottom line is, I'm just going to hit this live Facebook again. The bottom line is I had this experience. It was really tough. It was challenging. It sucked. I was disappointed. But I went out and I got outside help. I got this, this self-hypnosis thing. And it was fascinating. It was fascinating. It literally changed my life. I literally trained every day. What I did is I realized that I just wasn't as good as I needed to be in order to dominate. And so I prepared for that contest, not 12 weeks out, not 16 weeks out, not 20 weeks out like a lot of people did. I started preparing for that contest 50 weeks out. So I changed my beliefs, and my changed beliefs led to changed actions. And what happened is at the end, the whole year came around, and I went back into that contest, and I won that contest. And I was way better than I was the year before. But here's the kicker. The guy that I was competing for in the overalls was way better than the guy that won the year before. had I not prepared for that whole 50 weeks, I would have lost again. But because I changed my subconscious program, and because I changed my belief system, and because I took consistent action every night and every day, programming my mind, followed by step-by-step actions, I was able to get a different result. And then afterwards, I won rather consistently. And then, of course, a few years later, ended up at the World Championships, and you know the rest of the story. Now, I'm not saying that to tell you the story, but I've also had situations in my business when I remember when I didn't think I was good at sales. I remember when I thought I wasn't a good marketer. I remember when I thought I wasn't a good business person. And each one of those things I would come up because I had limits of my family. I had limits. Nobody in my business, nobody in my family went to business. Nobody was a salesperson. Salesperson were people that were weird. I think, my business partner was a marketing guy. I'm like, I'm not like him. And then as I go along, I started to change my beliefs a little by exposing myself to education. And what I realized is that all these beliefs were actually self-created. They were self-created prophecies and self-created limitations that were holding me back. Now, what's interesting, fast forward, so I started to address that. Now, everybody has aptitudes and everybody's abilities, but you can get a lot better than you think. Obviously, you want to find where you're the strongest, but you could approach all of those areas of life and get really good at it. Maybe not the world's best, but you can get beyond competent and probably can achieve whatever it is that you want. So the question is, there is what I call doing a turnaround. So I was able to turn around my bodybuilding career. I was able to, I was able in 2003 when I had my health crisis, by switching a performance diet to a health diet. I was able to turn around my business career in 2003, and then 2004, and then I did another pivot in 2007, and then I did another pivot in 2012, and I'm in the transformation of another pivot right now. And so why I'm sharing this with you is I want you to list out 3 areas in your life. Look at that, put 4 up. So it could be 4. Put up 3 areas. 3 areas right now that is challenging you, that is making your life difficult. Okay? And I'm going to explain why I want you. So if you got a pen and paper, please write these down. And then I'm going to share with you, I'm going to pull up a doc here that I think is important. And then we're going to go through it. So let me do that right now. I'm just going to click this out, and then we're going to go to this share. Okay, 3 ways to master the turnaround. Okay, here's what we're going to do. So hopefully you can share, you can see that clearly on your screen. I'm not sure yet if you can. I'm just checking to see if that comes in. Please text yes that you can see it. Yeah, okay, I see it coming up now. Okay, great. All right, thank you. I got a few people connecting. So 3 ways to master the turnaround. You can turn around any area of your life. You can make big changes. We've heard of people that's gone to jail and became successful business people. We've seen people that had failed marriages and went on to become marriage counselors later on in life. We've seen people that were grossly overweight or, really, really ill and dying from an illness transform into be pictures of health and vitality. So mark down the 3 areas that you're dealing with, and then pick the one that's most important to you right now. The reason I said 3 is because I want you to go back through this process again on those other areas, but pick the one that's most valuable to now. Is it your health? Is it your business? Or is it your relationships? Which one of those 3 are limiting you? All right. So let's go to the first question that we're going to ask. So the first question that we're going to ask, and thanks for We got a few chats here. I'm just going to check in right there. Yes. Okay, great. Got some people saying, okay, great. So think of the limiting belief and whatever it is. Now, I want you to write down all the judgments about that belief. Okay. So this is a process that we did at Business Mastery. This is a process that Byron Katie does. I'm actually going to give you the links at the end of this where you can kind of find out more about this. But write down all the beliefs. I'm not smart enough. I don't have the resources. I'm big boned. I don't have time. You know, I don't know the right people. I don't have access to capital. I don't know how to market. I don't know how to do sales. I don't know how to do online marketing. I don't know how to use social media. Whatever that is. I'm not good enough, smart enough, attractive enough. I don't know what it is. Write down all of the judgments that you have about yourself right now. Okay? I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that, and then we'll move on to the next question. Okay? So, and you can write these down. So think of a limiting belief in your health, your business, or your relationships. Could be any area in life. And then write down all the judgments about that belief. What I mean by a judgment is what you believe to be true. But you say, oh, you need to have the right people. Oh, salesmen are all sleazy people. Rich people are greedy and evil. All of these statements, these memes, these themes that have holes in it. Okay? There you go. So some people are putting these up. All right. Now, here's what you need to do next. You need to challenge your beliefs with questions. Look, the key out of any situation, or the key to improve anything, is to simply ask a better question. So, here's what your first stage is to do. Is it true? Is what I believe true? So, for example, and you go, well, of course it's true. Okay, let's go a little deeper to see how you form your opinions. Could this be a misrepresentation or a misperception? Okay, so the question is, do you have all, and I've underlined all here, the possible information necessary to know exactly what this means? Do you have all the possible information necessary to know exactly what this means? Is this true? Okay. Second question. What do you feel? And I've got an emphasis on you. What do you feel? What do you experience? And what do you become like when you experience this thought? I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not techie enough. I don't have the skill set. I don't have this ability. I don't understand. I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Whatever all those things that come up. What are the feelings that you come up? Do you feel good? Do you feel bad? Do you feel certain? Do you feel uncertain? Do you feel disempowered? Do you feel guilty? Do you feel happy? What do you feel? What do you experience? Do you experience a lack of confidence? Do you experience lack of initiative? Do you experience being demotivated? What do you experience when you have this belief? Now, next thing, 3. This is the big one. If this thought, this limiting belief, your biggest bugaboo, your biggest limitation, the thing that you've been struggling with for decades, didn't exist, how would you feel? How would you behave? And how would you experience life? If you believed you were smart enough to solve this problem, if you believed that you were influential enough that you could make that deal, if you believed that you were skillful enough to make that sale, if you believed you had the communication capabilities to overcome the most challenging person in your life, what would you be like? Maybe you even know somebody who is that way. Okay? Yeah, someone says powerful. Yeah, exactly, you're powerful. You're damn right you're powerful. Thanks, guys. I see some posts here on Facebook. I'm clicking back and forth. So if that thought didn't exist, if your biggest limitation didn't exist, how would you feel, behave, and experience life? What would you be like? Powerful? Would you be confident? Would you be a master of your domain? Would you be able to buy the things that you want? Would you be able to look in the mirror and fit in the clothes that you wanted to fit in? Would the challenging relationships in your life that you've been struggling with be smooth and happy and joyful and uplifting? What would it be like? I want you to sit there, write these questions down, because I want you to go as deep as you possibly can on these. These are big things. Great posts here, folks. Yes, confident, master my dream, powerful. Yes, great. Okay. Now here's where we're going to go in. Here's where we're going to take apart that belief and open the door for the turnaround. All right. I got to increase the order frequency. That's not up there. So here's what you need to do. You got to turn around the limiting belief by saying the opposite. It's build a new belief. So you turn around the limiting belief by saying the opposite or the antithesis. Replace they, he, she, you with I, and come up with at least 3 examples of how you know the new belief is true. So for example, let's say you've got a boss that's limiting you, or maybe a customer that didn't close on a sale. And you go, they are at, you know the word, fill in the blank. They're an idiot. They're not friendly, whatever. And change that to I am whatever you accuse them. How about they always and never. Anytime that you say always and never, you know that you're not true. It's not always true. Nothing is always true. The sun shine for billions and billions of years. Will the sun always shine? No. At some point, it's going to burn up and not be here. Never. It never works out for me. I'm never able to make the sale. Is that always true? No. Is it sometimes true? Sure. So what would it be? They always do this. How about I always do this? How about if you do the shouldn'ts? Have you ever told your kids, your family members, your business partners, your close relationships, you shouldn't do that? You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't do that. You shouldn't all over yourself. Change that to I shouldn't. I shouldn't. So these are ideas. So, and I'm using these as examples about limiting beliefs. But when you do this, okay, so what happened is when you go through this, these are the judgments that we subconsciously place. And just so you know, I'm extremely good at building stories that support me, and I'm really good at building stories that don't support me. I'm a master at telling myself stories, and we all do this. The question is, and the reality is none of us really know clearly what reality is, but we are darn sure that our version of reality is the truth. And if you're not challenging this, you're not able to grow into new paradigms. This new paradigms. You got to challenge the beliefs that you have, because the beliefs that you have got you to the place that you are in. Now, all beliefs are relatively true, but they're relatively not true. And so in order to be successful, you got to implement a new set of beliefs. And by implementing the new set of beliefs, you can take a new set of actions. Going back to my bodybuilding story, I had to build a new subconscious belief about myself. That led me to different actions. Those different actions led me to win, even though the competition was better, because I thought better, I did better, and I became better. But it starts with the belief. So once you go through that belief, okay, and you go around those things, you got those turnaround examples. Now you've got to anchor this in. You really, really, really got to anchor this in. Okay? So, how do you do this? How do you take extreme? If you haven't read the book Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, he was How the Navy SEALs Fight and Win. Go get that book. It's in my company. It is an absolute essential for everybody in my company to read. And it's fantastic. And when you see Jocko, first off, he's one of the scariest men you would ever meet in your life. But he is world-class. He's a world-class Navy SEAL and a world-class leader. And now he teaches business people of how to take extreme ownership for everything that's happening in your life. That is the key to becoming better. And he is a living, breathing example of it. There's no BS with him. He's certainly tough. But I think in today's world where snowflakes abound and everybody's a victim or whatever, and all these things about who can be the better victim and get a payoff, I think guys like Jocko are doing a great service because it's the opposite of that, right? You get in a military, you get into a fight for your death, like people that are involved in military conflict. And I have not been in a military conflict, so I'm speaking as an observer, not as an experienced person. But the bottom line, when you're walking around and people are blowing apart your friends and you're seeing the most horrific things ever, you do not have time to be a victim. You have to take ownership of what's going on in order to survive. Maybe you get out, maybe you don't, and you're going to take some damage here, mentally, emotionally, physically. But if you take ownership, you may survive. If you can't take ownership, you probably won't. That's the kind of playing ground that Jocko has survived through and went through and had to take responsibility for, which is something most of us will never, ever, ever, ever even have an iota experience about doing. And you can have all your reasons about war or not war or whatever, but the bottom line is those conditions are the most extreme conditions ever. They're life and death. And so you can learn stuff from the extremes. And so I think Extreme Ownership by him is good. Byron Katie's The Work, that's kind of where it goes kind of deeper through that process. Or go to Tony Robbins' Business Mastery. They take you through this process. I just went through it. It was fantastic. I had a particular limiting belief that I was working on, and I was able to transform it so much that 4 of my closest friends observed the change with me not even telling them that I had made that change. That's how powerful it was, and I was able to change it in the course of 5 days. The other thing I'm going to pop into this Facebook page is I'm going to pop in Jocko's good video. And if you want to get a quick look into Jocko's, I'm going to put that link into the chat afterwards. It's not coming in right now. Let's see if I can get it in the chat. I might get it in the chat. It's not coming in on Facebook. But the bottom line is you got to do these. And then finally, there's one last piece. All right, final piece. What is the cost of this belief? What is the cost of this belief? You got to look at is what happens if you continue with the limiting belief that you've stated. Like, what's that going to cost you? What's it going to cost you in your relationships? What's it going to cost you in your finances? What's it going to cost you in your health? I've seen people transform themselves from literally being on welfare to be millionaires. I've seen people that were fat, out of shape, overweight, never healthy, and now people are asking, are they in bodybuilding contests? I've seen people so scared to stand in front of a group of people to say anything, they were shaking and I had to hold them, to going out and leading hundreds of people through speaking and inspirational speeches. I've seen people who were dying of literally unsurvivable levels of disease. They were given a death sentence and come back and are running triathlons in their 60s. Seen it all. We all have. So you got to ask yourself, what happens if you continue with this limiting belief? How is it going to impact your life? How's it going to impact your health? How's it going to impact your loved ones? And then finally, who does this affect? Who else? Does it affect you? Does it affect your relationships? Does it affect your business partners? Does it affect your family? Does it affect your community? What are the things that you wanted to do, but you say, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, I don't have the health, I don't have the energy, I don't have the communication skills, I don't know the right people. Like, who else is this going to affect? You know that you've got some superstar powers inside of you that are being limited because of a dumb belief that got programmed into you before you were 7. You don't even know it. Ask yourself that question. So is it worth going through the work? Of course it is. Now, the final piece, this is my favorite part, is what could you gain, not a gain, I put a gain in there, I don't know why that is. Let's fix that. What could you gain by integrating the empowering belief? If the thing that you wrote down right off the bat, what could you gain if you took on that belief? What would happen? What if you said that I am smart enough that I can learn this sales technique? What if you said, you know what? I do have the time to go to the gym and get in straight. What if you said, you know what? I'm tired of struggling with my relationships in my family and I need to get over it. What would happen if my relationships in my family were awesome and that I was in a connected, loving, empowering environment with my family and friends all the time or most of the time? What would happen if I had enough money to do all the things I wanted to do? What would happen if I literally jumped out of bed at 6 a.m. in the morning and felt like I could run through brick walls and go all day long without even eating and have tremendous amounts of energy? Or whatever it is for you, for your specific stuff. These are the things that were important to me. And, and I'll tell you a final story. When I was exposed to my sister dying, when I was a teenager, I was watching her go through the dying process. And after she died, I was at university. And I remember being angry and frustrated and upset and kind of numb and searching for the answers. And I remember after 4 years of university, I was still frustrated, still upset. I searched, I hadn't found the answers. I was knocking at all these things. And I ended up working in a furniture store. And I was working it was almost 70 hours a week in this furniture. It was crazy. It was like 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, 9 till 9, 6 days a week, 1 day off. And I didn't like it. And I wasn't able to work out like I was working out for, which was important to me. And I woke up one morning and I looked out of I was renting in a room in Fredericton, New Brunswick, on the second floor of this house, kind of a thing. I looked out my bedroom, which my bedroom had a hallway and into this thing. And I looked out and it was kind of that state when you're half awake and half asleep, that theta state. And that's a very powerful state, by the way. If you want to implement new beliefs and ideas and systems, I'm actually going to do a webinar in a couple weeks on how to leverage the theta state. That was what I did in that bodybuilding introduction I said at the program. But I'm in that kind of theta state. And I looked down the hall. And what was interesting is the hall kind of extended out like these movies. And as it went out into the future, I saw my life. I could see all my life. I was going to live this life. I was going to live the life that I said I wouldn't do. Oh, it was devastating. I couldn't believe it. I was like, how did I get here? I'm 22 years old. I'm the same age as when my sister died. It's been 4 years. I haven't gone anywhere in my life. I haven't got anything. And I'm stuck in a job that I hate. I'm not able to do what I love. Things are going sideways fast. And I had read a book by Napoleon Hill, and he talked about Barnes, the bum, who ended up going to work for Edison. He showed up on Edison's doorstep and said he wanted to go into business. And Edison, seeing that he was a bum, but saw that it's something in his eye, and anyways, long story short, he let him into the business. And then 5 years later, when none of his sales, he let him start cleaning the place. And the guy just kept focusing. He was going to go into business with Edison. Then when nobody wanted to do the dictaphone, no one said it would work. This guy said, I can sell it. He got his opportunity and he sold it, and he made millions of dollars and became a very successful business person. But he kept building the belief. And I looked out there and I realized, you know what? I need to do what this guy did. This guy burned the boats. He got on a railway car and took all the railway over to Edison's place as a train hobo to get there. He didn't let his limitations. He didn't think I'm a hobo. He didn't say I don't have an education. He didn't say I have a background. He went to one of the most famous people in the world, one of the greatest inventors in the history of the world, walked into his office and said, hey, I'm going to be in business with you. I need to be in business with you. And he was so clear in his belief that Thomas Edison gave him a job. And he kept working that belief. He didn't say, hey, I'm going to sweep the floors and that's all I can do. He swept the floors as best as he could. He did the best job he could for 5 long years, every day telling him he was going to be in business with Edison. He was working with Edison. It's only a matter of time. Opportunity came up disguised as this dictaphone that nobody wanted to sell. None of the big empire wanted to do. And he says, I can do it. This is my chance. This is my opportunity. He took it and he went. So sometimes you have to continue to work on that belief. Just because you change the belief doesn't mean everything's going to magically change. You got to take the action. You got to burn the boats. You got to go all in, and you got to go deep as it takes, and keep reprogramming. And the more you reprogram, the more actions you take. The more actions you take, the closer you get to success, and eventually it becomes second nature. Because limiting beliefs, your beliefs determine your actions determine your results. So if you want to change your results, you got to change your actions. But to change your actions, you got to change your beliefs. And nowadays we have access to the world's best of everything. You can get access to the greatest minds that ever existed on the planet Earth with the click of a button. There's no excuse. But you got to turn off the news. You got to turn off the sports channel. You got to turn off the distractions and refocus your belief systems, reprogram your mind so that you can take the actions that are going to be successful to yourself. So a quick review is this. Remember, write down the limiting belief, write down the judgments you have about that belief. Ask yourself, is this true? Ask yourself, what would you feel and experience when you believe this thought? 3, and if this thought didn't exist, how would you feel, behave, and experience life? What would you be like? And then ask yourself, what happens if you continue with this limiting belief? Who does this affect? And what could you gain by integrating the empowering belief? I hope you loved it. I'm going to put a little link here on the Facebook page, Wade Lightheart at Facebook, to Jocko Willick's good video. It's a 2-minute video. I'm hoping everybody will watch this video. I think it's one of the coolest videos ever. It's only 2 minutes. And if you're ever feeling a little beat up, this is the video. I'm going to place it in the chat here on Zoom for those who are joining us on Zoom. Let's see if I can get it in there. I'm trying to get it in there. Doggone it. I don't know if it came in. If not, just go to my Facebook page. I'm going to post it up there. Hope you loved it. Hope you enjoyed this, and keep on rocking. We'll be back here next week, Monday night, for the No BS Rants. I'm coming at you live and large from Vancouver. WT Lightheart. Have yourself a great night.